Hey guys, welcome back. I want to give you a quick video about what it's like to find an apartment, especially if you're moving to a new area like my boyfriend and I did about 6 months ago when we moved down to California. So I just want to go over some quick little things that we had to do and focus on when we were looking for an apartment to maybe help you out if you're looking to move to a new area and need to find some housing. So the first part of finding an apartment that we did was our research. Now, our research included looking at lots of different apartments in the areas that we were looking at moving to. Our research also included focusing on the location of the apartments, having the size of the apartments listed, as well as the price. I actually made an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of the apartments that we were possibly going to look at that had those pieces of information in it. So what I had was, the apartment and then the price for it, the square footage, and then also the location compared to my boyfriend's schools, because that was the main thing for us at the time. So we had that, and then based on that, we scheduled what places we actually wanted to visit, or which ones we thought, maybe that's a backup, but we might not visit it at all. Now with the location, one big thing that you really want to think about is the location compared to your major points of interest, which in most cases is going to be your job. So for us, it was my boyfriend's medical school, and since we knew where those places were, we were able to do quick little Google Maps searches and find out the distance to all the places or all the apartment locations, and we actually put that into the Excel spreadsheet so that way we can think about that when we do it, because honestly we don't want it to be very far. I knew he was going to be going back and forth at weird times of the day because he'd be having lectures at odd times or he'd be working at the school late, and we didn't want him to have to drive back home very far when he's exhausted, or if it's early in the morning, or if he forgot something at home. We want that to be a quick drive back and forth. Another major thing to think about is obviously the size and price. So price is going to be super important, especially if you're like us, my boyfriend and I, where he is living completely on loans and I am working part-time right now and doing my master's degree. So price is very important. Make sure that you have a budget and an amount set for your price. You really don't want to go over it unless you absolutely have to, but also collect some apartments that are maybe a little below your, price range and a little bit above, just in case the ones that are inside are absolutely not viable. They're too far away, you visit and they're maybe just not what you're looking for at all, or you just don't feel safe in that area. Make sure you have a couple that are a little bit above and a little bit below. Not a whole lot, because you want to make sure you can swing it, but you want to have something just as a backup. And along with the price, the size is important. You would be amazed how small some apartments can be, or at least I was. So you want to make sure that it's going to be big enough for the two of you. If there are two of you, if it's just one, make sure it's big enough for you. But really think about it, because you don't want to be stuck in a lease in an apartment with someone, or with a pet or something, and you're just on top of each other and you're getting angry. That's just not how you want to live. A lot of people would say that with a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you want to make sure you have like a door that you can shut between the two of you so that way you can have time separate apart from one another. Like right now I'm filming in our dining room, my boyfriend is working in our bedroom, and that way I'm not bothering him while he's doing his homework, or at least if he can hear me, it's not as much as it would be if it was all just one big room. So size is important. Okay, the next big thing after doing all that research is to actually go there. So I know a lot of people, if you're moving across the country, it just doesn't make sense to visit, but I really would suggest planning a visit to go apartment hunting. Now, I did some apartment hunting for us in Las Vegas, and it was just me and my parents. My boyfriend is not there. And then my boyfriend did some apartment hunting for us in Los Angeles, and it was him and his parents, and I was not here. So that's not ideal. Ideally, you'd have everyone who'd be living there. But it worked out for us where we both had trips planned to visit different places or different things in those areas at the time. So for us, it really worked out. But a visit is super important because you might be able to see photos online, but those photos are photoshopped and they're done by really, really high trained professional photographers who know how to make a tiny cramped space look super bright, brand new, and open. And it's really important to actually see it yourself. With a visit, it's also really nice because you get to see the rest of the complex that maybe wasn't included in the photos, either because they didn't want to put that many photos on or because it wasn't very nice looking, like maybe the gate or the fence around it, it's not very nice, there's holes or there's lots of, homeless people, I don't know what it is, but maybe there's something they didn't include and you're not going to see that unless you actually go there. So visiting is super important. When you visit, you want to ask as many questions as you can possibly think of, about the trash service. Like I learned in Vegas, it's really popular to have a trash service where it's like a valet service. You leave it on your doorstep and they come and get it. Me coming from Washington, I'd never heard of that before. So, it's just little things like that. You want to ask about, utilities, any other fees that you might have, just lots of little details. Do your research. There's lots of people that have lists of questions to ask. ask maybe your parents, friends, family who have lived in an apartment or have rented somewhere, what questions they would suggest asking. For us, luckily enough, we had our parents with us for both visits. They were all great at coming up with those questions to help us out, so that was really nice. And then finally, when you're visiting, it's really awesome if they have a model you can see. You might have to ask them if you can see the model. Sometimes they don't offer it, I don't know why, but you have to say, is there a model I can see? Every once in a while, it'll be something where they've built a model inside their actual clubhouse so that they can just show prospective renters. Most of the time, though, you're going to actually be able to see a unit that's been staged, a unit that's been staged. Ours here, we were actually lucky enough to be a recently renovated unit. So ours wasn't staged at the time, but it was newly renovated and we were able to come in and see it, or my boyfriend was because he came down here. So that was a big thing. When you can see the furniture in a model though, it really makes it seem like you can actually live there. Whereas if you just see blank walls and, tiny rooms, you might just be daunted, by the task of making it feel like home. So definitely ask if you can see a model. It's very helpful. Also with our apartment, we were able to kind of see a model or a staged model because they had photos of our actual apartment unit with photoshopped furniture inside, which actually took me a while to figure that out. So that was also helpful. So that might be an option as well. So once you've done your research on all the apartment complexes in the general area that you're looking at moving to, and you've visited if possible, and you've asked all those questions, and you've seen a model, now it's really time to compare and contrast. So obviously I think once you visit an apartment, you really have an idea of which one you're in love with, which is always a nice thing or another pro for going and actually visiting. If you don't though, that's when you really want to start looking at like the location, the size, and the price. Those are really going to be your biggest factors. Another one would be safety. Like my boyfriend and his family, they came down here and visited a lot of the places that were on our list, and they just didn't feel very safe, and so they decided to not go any further with the process at those apartment complexes. The one we're at is actually right next to one of those, and they literally stumbled upon it. So that's another thing with doing a visit, is you might find another complex that didn't even come up in your searches, like the one that we actually ended up at. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But you really have to do some comparing and contrasting, pro-con lists, and put it in an order that makes sense logically. Maybe your heart's not in it, but your budget is. So that's the hard part. A big thing is going to be your distances from your point of interest. Another thing you want to think about is the amenities. Now, personally, I really wanted a gym or a workout room at the complex. Ours doesn't have it, but it does have a lot of other things that are really nice. We also don't have a washer and dryer inside of our unit, which is another thing I would have loved to have. but it just was a lot safer of a place. Ours was renovated, which was a huge reason we went with it, and it was a really nice looking apartment. So think about the distance, the amenities, price, size, all those things. And make sure you really like it, because you're going to live there probably for more than a year. It's pretty common. Yeah, so make sure you really love it, and I wish you well on your search. Hey guys, thanks for watching till the end. I hope those little tips and tricks for you were helpful. I really just wanted to walk you through what it was like for my boyfriend and I to find an apartment, what we, did, what our research was like, what things we really focused on, what we did when we were actually visiting, and what, the overall process kind of entails. I hope if you are moving, that was helpful for you. If not, I apologize. Give me suggestions down below in the comments of what else you might want me to talk about. I've moved across the country and I've got lots of other things going on. Let me know. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, please, 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 and I will get you more content as soon as possible. Thanks so much, guys. See you in the next one.